On today's show, we're back. The Dallas Mavericks have now played 6 games. None of them have been normal. What have we learned so far? We're going to talk about the 5 things we like and don't like and see if any of them are the same. On today's Locked On Mavs.
Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstead, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor, writer at Mavs.com. The holdout, the one more thing, King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Well, first off, welcome back. It's good
Thank
to see you back.
Thanks for holding it down.
You missed a classic, great game in Denver. If you haven't got to watch it yet, you need to go watch it. Mavs dominated in that game. But good to have you back. But off the top, we were recording this probably 30, 45 minutes after Marcus Smart's post-game comments after their game.
Tirade.
If you are listening to this, you need to push pause for a second. Go read the comments that Marcus Smart said after the game.
I'll read them to you in just a little bit. Don't pause this. Just
don't
wait,
pause it. Just
wait
playing.
a little bit, and I'll read them to you.
Just keep playing, especially through the ads. But is it time?
Speaking of which, no, I'm just gonna keep going.
Is it time for this pod is brought to you by Marcus Smart? Is it time for the Mavs to finally go get
Dallas native,
Flower Mound Dallas native Marcus Smart whenever he is eligible to be traded?
Ooh, it's a good question. It is one that I actually will answer in our talk today and in our conversation. We're doing.
Are we not talking right now?
5 things that I like and don't like so far from the Maverick season. I picked 5. Isaac picked 5. We did not share these with each other before, so we'll see if any of them overlap. This episode is brought to you by RockAuto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit RockAuto.com and tell them that Locked On sent you. Also, thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Remember, Locked On Mavs is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Just search Locked On Mavs. We're everywhere. Search the Dallas Mavericks. Every once in a while, one of our videos pops up. Shout out to optimization. All right. So 5 things that we like and don't like. I'm going to start with my first one here. Kristaps Porzingis out for the 3rd straight game against the Kings over the weekend.
You like it?
And his question, no, it's like or don't like. So it could be either one. You have to decide whether we like it or not. Some of them will be obvious. Kristaps Porzingis out for his 3rd straight game. He is questionable for the game today. If you're listening and watching this on Tuesday against the Miami Heat, I've 50-50 if he's going to play for me. I've just no read on this whole situation. He's been out now for a full week, and so maybe they just said, hey, he's just going to be out for a full week, and then we'll try it and see it back. We saw footage of him practicing. I saw Kevin Gray tweet that out. But he's been out for a week now, and the conspiracy theories have been flying all over the place about Kristaps Porzingis.
Don't do what Josh Lloyd did to me.
They've just been go listen to Isaac on Locked On NBA. On Monday. But the conspiracy theories have been going all over the place. They're trying to find a trade for him. They're holding him out. Kristaps Porzingis doesn't want to get actually injured before the Mavericks can actually trade him. All that kind of stuff. The other thing that doesn't help the conspiracy theory crowd is that Goran Dragic has now sat his 4th straight game with just a DNP CD. So are trade talks revving up again and we just haven't heard about it? And so that's something that is real and it is out there right now. Mark Stein in his newsletter yesterday said, quote, I do think Dragic one way or another ends up in Dallas. It's simply going to take longer than a lot of people rooting for this want to wait. He just brought it up again after how many times did we talk about this over the offseason that Dragic could be a Maverick and all that kind of stuff. Now Stein brings it up and Dragic is sitting out and KP is sitting out. It's just there's a little smoke there for me, and it seems like something may happen.
Yeah, I made the joke about Josh Lloyd. Josh Lloyd hosted Locked On NBA on I guess Monday. Yeah, I think it was Monday.
Mondays, yeah.
I told him beforehand, I was like, hey, I'm like a halfway team employee. I can't really, don't throw at me too hard questions and 4 questions in. So is KP getting traded? Is he what and it was fun. No, he's literally the best when it comes to fantasy basketball. So you guys need to
Yeah,
be
he
listening
is.
to him, because that segment came out, and then people were tweeting at him and be like, "Oh my gosh, we have KP in fantasy. What do I?" And I was like, "That shows that you're the GOAT." But man, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know what's going on with it. I mean, he in his question to me in Locked On NBA, he was like, Jason Kidd basically said right after the game that he left, after the game, Kidd said, "Oh, he's fine. He'll be fine." He was like, "How is somebody fine, but they've missed a week in 3 games?" And I don't really have an answer to that. So there's no way to answer that. I think too, and I said this on that show. I said, I think for Mavs fans, especially if you've been a fan over the past handful of years, like you remember the Dennis Smith Jr. situation because it's the same injury, same everything. That kind of gets glossed over. I feel like people kind of forgot about that when Dennis wanted out and he was just away from the team, lower back tightness. Now KP's not away from the team. KP's on the sidelines cheering on his teammates, like all this different stuff.
And
But
at
it's like,
practice.
yeah, he's at practice and all of that. But like you can't fault Mavs fans for at least trying to tie those strings together or the theories together. Be like, oh my gosh, lower back tightness, he's out again. They said he was fine, but he's still not playing. What's going on? And I'm just going to leave it at that as far as like what we know is what we know right now, and we'll just see what happens. And I mean, obviously, if he misses another game against Miami, it will just heighten it even more, but we'll see.
It's interesting. We thought for sure at the end of last season that KP was going to get traded. Tim McMahon reported that KP wanted to be traded, that he asked for a trade. And so
if the front office, and I said this on Locked NBA, if Rick was back and the front office was back, KP, in my opinion, I did not think KP would have been back on the team. I don't think they run it all back. I just never thought that. I didn't think that Rick and Donnie both would be gone going into the summer. I thought for sure, I'm like, okay, KP's going to be gone. And obviously everything happened with Rick and Donnie. And then the whole thing shifted. It's like, all right, well, let's bring KP back. We have a whole new regime, top to bottom. Let's try to make this thing happen. And it's like, okay. So yeah, to back up your point there, it's like at first we did think that he was going to be traded until all the change happened.
And so then we go into the offseason. Jason Kidd gets named the coach, the front office changes and all that kind of stuff. And they start the hype train, right? They start this hype train of Kristaps Porzingis and boosting him up and saying we're going to use him as a basketball player, talking about I'll take a drink for this. It feels like I shouldn't anymore, but first healthy offseason in a long time. And we're like, okay, they either really believe in Porzingis or they're hyping him up for a trade, right? They're hyping him up for some kind of deal, some kind of move or something like that. That seemed like one of the two routes they could be taking with this. The reason why it was so specific that they were so high on KP, that they were so complimentary of him, that they were talking about him so much. They're either just trying to boost him up and trying to get him back to be the player that they believe can take this Mavericks team to another level when he's playing well, or they're trying to trade him. So if they're doing that, then you can understand why they would be very cautious anytime he feels anything of discomfort, right? Any kind of anything. They're like, all right, back tightness, we're going to keep you out. If he actually is hurt and back tightness is real and all that, we're keeping you out for a week minimum, right? We're not messing with this. We're not just going to throw you out there when you're not 100%, because then you can mess something else up, tears his ACL, no trade can happen then. Then it's just done, right? There's no shot.
I think there's a middle ground of that too. I think there's a middle ground that I actually think
that they're hedging their bets on both sides.
No, I think
totally
I think there's a middle ground of we're going to hype this up. We want it to work. We're going to, push that he is fully healthy and this new system and everything, because I think still it's like on paper, if they mesh chemistry wise and everything, it should work. I think that's the number one goal, but also having the mindset of, but if we do that, it still helps his trade value too. So it's like, I don't think it's an either or of like they only hyped it just to build trade value, or they only hyped it because they truly believe. I think it's they hyped it because they do believe in it, but also knowing like that's the only route you can go is what they did, because there's no other way,
right.
no other smart way to do it. So it's Marcus' smart way to do it. But
yeah, they want to walk and chew gum at the same time. They want their Kristaps Porzingis production and then their cake where they can potentially trade him as well and get out of this whole situation that Nico Harrison and that front office didn't sign up for, right? It was Donnie Nelson's, trade and all that kind of stuff, and he's the one that made the deal. We liked it at the time. We thought it was a great risk, and now
it was a great risk. No
Yeah.
matter what happens, if
Right.
they trade KP tomorrow for cap space, it's still a great risk. Like you
Yeah.
still didn't give up. Like, yeah, we'll hash that out whenever that chapter, if
we'll do
that chapter closes.
So yeah, KP being out, talked about Mark Stein, the Dragic stuff, the Marcus Smart stuff we'll get into coming up. What did Marcus Smart say after this most recent Celtics game? Why are people saying, oh, a trade for Marcus Smart finally? We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. They have the best NBA daily fantasy prop game on the market right now. There's all kinds of stuff on Prize Picks that you can check out. This is how it works. You go to their website, you go ahead, you get started, you sign up for an account. You can go in and pick all these different props, and you can pick over under on any of these. So I'm going to go in there right now. I'm going to click NBA. Let's see. If you wanted to bet, or if you wanted to go ahead and pick Donovan Mitchell over under 26.5 points in the game against Sacramento on Tuesday. Interesting. You could pick that. You can pick all kinds of stuff on here. You can pick Harrison Barnes, 16.5 points over under against the Utah Jazz. Ooh, that's a little low. I may go over that one, and I may go under De'Aaron Fox 22.5. And then all of a sudden, if I put those together, then now we got something going. I pick the under on that, the over on that. I bet $20. I can win $40 on that right there. Boom. That's how Prize Picks works. It's awesome. Go use it. Use the promo code NBA when you download the app in the App Store. And you'll be able to get a $100 match. If you put $100 down, they'll match $100. Promo code NBA. Prize Picks is the app. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more things that we like and don't like so far this Mavs NBA season. Kristaps Porzingis out for 3 straight games. The conspiracy. I like the conspiracy. I enjoy the speculation. Marcus Smart had some comments after the most recent Celtics game. He seems to be very unhappy in his situation in Boston right now, and it sounds quite familiar from something we've heard before. Marcus Smart, according to every Celtics reporter tweeted out this full quote. I would just like to play basketball. Every team knows we're trying to go to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Every team is programmed and studied to stop Jason and Jaylen. I think everybody's scouting report is to make those guys pass the ball. They don't want to pass the ball. That's something that they're going to learn. They're still learning. We're proud of the progress they're making, but they're going to have to make another step and find ways to not only create for themselves, but create for others on this team to open up the court for them. Later down in the game, when they're always going to take those tough shots or tough matchups, when they do get the one-on-one or they bring the trap, it's something we've been asking for them to do. They're learning. We just got to continue to help those guys do that. And so Marcus Smart, frustrated that he's not getting the ball as often as he'd like with Tatum and Brown. And their games are not drive and dish. They're not Luka. They're not Harden. They're not one of these guys that can do both things. They're jump shooters. They take tough jump shots and all that.
Yeah, those are pretty strong comments.
The other one that's making the rounds right now is I can only do so much standing in the corner, is what Marcus Smart said, which sounded incredibly familiar to what KP has been kind of saying over this offseason.
Well, not over the kind of, but more like after that playoff series, and those are strong comments.
That is the off season.
Okay,
when they were done, that was the off season. They weren't playing anymore. Okay, continue.
Marcus Smart's 27 years old, just signed a 4-year extension back in August. We think that there is a window that he could be traded before the trade deadline.
Yeah, so when you sign a new extension, you can't get traded for 6 months. And so then now he's like, okay, so he signed it in August, which is late in the offseason, but that's because the free agency and stuff, everything was late this year. And so now we think, and I checked with John Corrales, our Locked On Celtics host, about this too. We think he get traded somewhere in that late January, early February between the trade deadline and that window. We think there is a window where he can be traded, but he can't get traded right now. That's the whole point of saying all that, is that the Mavs can't go out and just trade for him right now if they wanted to. They'd have to wait until that window opens.
Yeah, and we're not going to spend the whole pot on Marcus Smart, but
no.
It's pretty simple for me. If you can go get Marcus Smart, you go get Marcus Smart. I think he'd fit next to Luka. Now, I don't know if he's wanting to run an offense right now, but as far as his defense, as far as his like mentality and everything, I would love to have a vet like that on this team. And I don't know what it would cost. I don't know what his trade value is across the league, but if you could get him, I would go get him.
100%. 100% I would go get him. He's a role player that the Mavericks could need. He is the obvious next choice in the progression from, all right, let's get a defensive guard around Luka. Okay, we'll try with DeLon Wright first, and then we'll try with Josh Richardson, and now Marcus Smart is like the very next step forward in that.
He would be like your guard, Sean Marion.
Yeah, completely.
In
and I think that they would play him all over the place and have him guard all kinds of stuff. And can you imagine if they were able to keep Dorian and Reggie Bullock, and then all of a sudden it's a Marcus Smart, Luka, Dorian, Bullock, like, and then whoever center you want to throw out there, KP or Willie or somebody. That's a pretty good defensive lineup that you can put if you needed some stops late in games. That's an incredible look that you can throw out there. So yeah, 100% in for Marcus Smart. I think I'm not sure he adds the secondary creator that you want at the level that you want, but he can do it. I mean, he's averaged 4 assists for his career. In the last couple of years, it's been almost 5 assists per game. Yeah, he's at 4.7 over the last 5 years or so. And so he is a point guard. He was a point guard in college at Oklahoma State. He can handle the ball. He can distribute. Not the greatest shooter, obviously, but he can do some stuff off the dribble. And I don't know about you, but one of my things later is about Frank Ntilikina, and I was like, ooh, Frank can dribble and do some stuff off the dribble. And I was like, wow, I'm impressed right now with how Frank Ntilikina can handle the ball, because the contrast between the rest of the Mavericks, because right now only Luka and JB can dribble and handle the ball, and they need somebody else, and Smart could do that.
Super impressive start to the season for Frank. I mean, we can go ahead and get into it now. You know,
let's put a bow on the Marcus Smart stuff. We would definitely encourage a trade. It would have to wait until January, so the Mavericks can't do one until then. They could do something like, I think I put up, it was KP and Reggie Bullock for Al Horford and Marcus Smart. That works out money-wise. You'd have to wait for all that stuff to happen. Would you be into that?
I would have the conversation.
Al Horford's only 2 years, so you got this year and next year, and then I'm not even sure that second year for Al Horford is set. So, yeah, interesting. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to another thing. Things that we like and don't like this season. Go ahead and get into that one about Frank.
Yeah, I briefly talked about it on yesterday's podcast with Doyle at Kobe Beef. Just the Frank and JB combo together off the bench. I think it's a cool combo. I think they complement each other really well.
I had this too.
I mentioned some of their stats yesterday. I checked back in today with the Kings game in there. They've only played 35 minutes together, but in those 35 minutes, plus 27, 115 offensive rating, 88 defensive rating. And that, I get it. It's only 35 minutes, but still small sample size theater here. They're better than the Water Bugs. We need a nickname for Frank and JB. It needs to happen.
I was racking my brain to think of one, and I couldn't think of one. Let us know in the comments on YouTube and at Twitter at Locked On Mavs. You can think of one. But Brunson as the scoring playmaking guy. Frank Ntilikina plays the defense that can cover up the deficiencies of Jalen Brunson, or when Brunson can't defend because he's putting all of his energy into offense. And Frank can do a little playmaking. And he's one of the only Mavericks shooting well from 3 right now, which is a revelation for him. Which, if that keeps up, he's a rotation player, and he is definitely a player that can.
Well, he's a rotation player right now. He's a top.
Well, he's shooting well right now. If he shoots like 10% from 3 or 20% from 3, I'm not sure we're saying the same thing.
Well, I mean, man, like right now, he's a rotation player. Like he has to be in those. When you're looking at the first 4 guys off the bench, it used to be a first 3, and now it has to be a first 4. It used to be JB, Bullock, and Maxey. I think you have to put Frank with those 4 guys now off the bench, or 3 guys. Because
at the beginning of the season, we were seeing Brunson and Sterling Brown as the backcourt, and Sterling Brown, I'm not sure is a shooting guard, and so, but Frank is absolutely, and I think that duo works together, that duo fits together, and so far it's been really effective together. So that duo has been a great duo. We also just have to mention a thing that I like is the Brunson-Maxey bench duo. That bench duo has been absolutely incredible and actually been really good for a decent amount of time. It's not that small of a sample size at this point. Of the Mavs' most used 2-man lineups so far, there's like 5 above Brunson and Maxey, and they're all like -10, -20 in the net rating, which is net rating is points scored per 100 possessions, and then you subtract the points allowed per 100 possessions. So it's basically the Mavericks are 8.8 points per 100 possessions better with Brunson and Maxey on the floor than they are with any other lineups right now. And that's in 74 minutes. The only 3 Mavericks that are shooting above 40% from 3 in 2+ attempts per game are Brunson, Maxey, and Frank Ntilikina. It's those 3 bench players. And so that duo, Brunson and Maxey, and then you add Frank in there, has been a really great bench duo for the Mavericks. And the Mavericks bench has been keeping them in games, and obviously won that, the game the other night against San Antonio, and has been great for the Mavs.
Yeah, and Frank has shown he can operate, with the ball at the same time too. So it's what Kidd said after the Kings game. He's shown that he can play on and off the ball, and with Luka and JB. So I'm happy for Frank. And if Frank is like legit a solid role player all year for that price, that's a steal of a deal.
Huge. Yeah, that's a great pickup. That's a great flyer. It feels like another one of these undrafted guys that they picked. Frank obviously was top 10 draft pick, but it feels like they took a chance on another one of these guys. And if it works out, then that's a great find for the Mavs. All right, coming up, let's get into some more things we like and don't like. We've talked about some things we like, maybe some things that we don't like. The reasons why the Mavericks have been struggling. Their offense has been so bad. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Shopify. You go and buy something, and you just hear that cha-ching of a register. You hear the accepting ding of the your credit card being accepted. It's just a great feeling. You get there, it's the sound of another sale, and that is the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. In case you don't know, Shopify is a complete commerce platform that lets you start, grow, and manage your business. It's a subscription-based software that allows anyone to set up an online store and sell their products. You got something? You want to sell it? Shopify. Shopify store owners can sell in physical locations using Shopify POS, our point of sale app, and accompanying hardware. You can use it out. You can go to, festivals. You can go things like that using Shopify. It gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA. That's all lowercase. It's very important. Shopify.com/LockedOnNBA for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA right now. Shopify.com/all lowercase LockedOnNBA. Also, I want to tell you about betonline.ag. It's the fastest and easiest way to bet, to wager, to gamble, to put money on sports. You can put it down right now. If you're looking forward in time, you're looking at that Thursday night football game. Jets, Colts. The Jets come off a massive win against the Cincinnati Bengals where Mike White could do no wrong. Colts, 10.5-point favorite at home against those Jets. That's a big line right there if you're an NFL fan. You're looking at that line going, ooh, can the Jets cover that? I don't know. They're on the road. Are the Colts that good? I don't know. I don't think so.
I'll take the Colts in that.
Dallas Cowboys 9-point favorite at home against the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos just traded Von Miller. Give me that line. I'm taking the points. I'm taking 9 points for the Cowboys, and hopefully Dak is back and they have it all figured out. But if you want to put down money like that, if you want to go through these and decide, hey, I'm going to put down a little bit, and you want to deposit some money, use the promo code LOCKEDON to get a 50% welcome bonus. You put down $100, they'll give you $50 to use for free. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris, we're going through the things that we like and don't like from the Dallas Mavericks this year. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. And make sure your second listen today is Locked On Fantasy Basketball. We've been talking about the GOAT, Josh Lloyd. He's doing incredible things. Honestly, millions of views and downloads right now. Millions happening right now. So don't miss out. All right. Another thing, we talked about the bench unit. We've been talking about that. Another thing that I don't like, but also has sort of been a weird positive at the same time. It's like one of these weird things. Luka Doncic has been struggling to start this season. Just struggling in his own right. And the Mavericks are still 4-2. It's another one of these things where okay, the Mavericks
No. Nick, you're not allowed to talk about records.
The Mavericks have won 4 games, and Luka has been this bad. I think that it can be a positive looking for the Mavs. Luka is shooting 24% from 3 on 7 attempts per game. He's shooting 68% on just under 5 free throw attempts per game. Those free throw attempts are down because of the new rules. and all that. So he hasn't been taking as many free throws either. So both those numbers are bad. His assist to turnover ratio is way down too. It's 1.73. So that's the number of assists compared to the number of turnovers he has. The last couple of years, it's been over 2, which is a really good number, and it's been under 2 to start this year. The Mavericks are also negative 11.4 points per 100 possessions worse with him on the floor right now. How are the Mavericks 4-2 when they're bad when Luka is on the floor? It doesn't make any sense right now.
Because they've played sucky teams.
They've played sucky teams. We've talked about the bench units. Isaac's he's messing with me, but
I'm joking.
But the Mavericks have been bad when Luka's on the floor, which is wild. And so there is regression back to the mean where Luka can get back to the form that he was last year, and all of a sudden the Mavericks are running on all cylinders all of a sudden.
For sure. It's a positive. When I'm joking because I sent out a tweet and different, other fans, whatever, it's just like, oh, we can't be positive about this because we beat bad teams. Listen, I'm not trying to say the record is because of how good the Mavs are. Ooh, man, look, they're so good that they're 4-2. All I'm trying to say is, with everything considered that has happened over these first 6 games, Luka's bad start, KP, all of that, leadership council, 15-man game. Like, we can talk about all these random things that's happened over the first 6 games in a new coach, transition to a new coach, trying out things, a lot of tinkering. If you're telling me all of this happens and you're still 4-2, sign me up. That's a positive. Okay. If we can just get all of this out of our system and we're 4-2, much better than doing all the tinkering and all this stuff happening. And we're 0-6 right now saying, what the crap? This is too much of a hole to climb ourselves out of. That's not the case they're in. So it is a positive that they're 4-2, despite, I want to say despite, because not all of it's technically negative. It's more of despite all the tinkering and adjustments and just all the new stuff.
100%. So, I mean, it's a negative that Luka hasn't been playing bad. It's a positive the Mavericks have been winning despite him playing bad for his standards, right? It's one of those things where it's both things.
Yeah.
And so he can get better. Obviously, he can get back to that point. This transitions into my next thing I like and don't like. Every Mavericks high volume shooter, not named Tim Hardaway Jr., is awful right now. Just absolutely terrible. Tim Hardaway Jr. is shooting 38.6% on 7.3 3-point attempts per game. That's good, really good. It's just about excellent, but it's definitely above average. Luka, 24%. KP, 24%. Dorian Finney-Smith, 19%. Reggie, 31%. That's below average. That's decent, but it's still way below average. Mavericks right now are taking the most catch and shoot threes in the NBA per game, 28.5, and they're shooting 33% on those catch and shoot threes, which is way below average. I think it's around like the 20th, like 18 to 20 rank in the NBA as far as percentage. So the Mavericks are getting a lot of these shots. They've been getting some good open shots and all that.
I think they're 5th in the league in 3-point attempts per game. So the whole like notion of, oh, they've stopped shooting threes as a team. That's not really.
Yeah, it's not. They've stopped making them. They've definitely stopped making these threes. So again, another thing that's a negative but can be a positive later is the Mavericks are missing these threes, and guys like Reggie Bullock and Luka are missing these threes when they've been good 3-point shooters. Dorian has been a good 3-point shooter the last couple of years. And so when that starts to regress back to the mean, when all of a sudden the Mavericks start hitting their threes, then that's a huge thing. The last stat I'll share in this category, Luka is 2nd in the NBA in potential assists per game. 17.8 per game. A potential assist is when Luka throws a pass to somebody, they take a shot. There's potential for that to become an assist. And so every time they miss an open shot or something, that counts as a potential assist and not a real one because they didn't make the shot. He's 2nd in the NBA. He's averaging like 7.5 assists. So that's like 10. That's like 10 assists per game that Luka is missing out because the Mavericks are missing shots, which is a ton. That's a lot. If it's a lot if there are more misses than actual makes with those potential assists. So again, every Maverick shooter, as soon as that regresses back to the mean, I think the Mavericks are going to be in a good place offensively.
Yeah, I mean, one of the small things I put in there that goes along with this is they're 30th in the league in field goal percentage. So
that's bad. That's last.
That's not good.
When you're not making any shots at all, that's bad.
So yeah, I mean, you're hoping that, I mean, a popular thing kid's been saying is we're just not making our shots. So
he's right.
Yeah, I mean, you hope that they just start making shots, and it's not always 30th in the league of that. And you guys can go look up KP and Luka 2-man lineup stats. I don't want to throw them out there right now, but that was something.
That's only 3 games. That's even smaller.
Exactly. things I do like. I just have a couple smaller ones and then like a fun one that's like kind of non-court.
Save the fun one for the end. I got one more negative.
Oh, you got another negative?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you're so negative. My
Sorry.
two positive ones. 3-0 at home so far this season.
That's good.
They struggled at home last year, and then they're 4th in the league in turnovers per game at 12.8. They're
so that they're low. The low turnovers still, which is continues on from last season.
Exactly. Yeah, they were top 5 last year, maybe even top 3. And
it's weird when you say like top in turnovers. It actually means like lower.
Low.
My last negative one. It has to be said. And if we're going to do a list of things that I like and don't like, I have liked so far that Kidd seems to be tinkering with lineups. Now, playing 15 players on opening, the home opener was a little odd, but he does seem to be open to changing things. He starts Maxey. He tries to start Reggie Bullock. He starts Reggie Bullock to begin the game against the Kings or against the Nuggets, and then he changes to starting Maxey in the second half. He has been open to changing things. But the one thing besides Luka that he has not wanted to change about this starting lineup has been Dwight Powell, and it's the one thing that has just not been working at all in this lineup. Rim protection, rebounding, and shot selection for Dwight Powell, I do not feel like have been very good this year and have been holding the Mavericks back because they just give up these points. Like the Mavericks will go on this run and then all of a sudden they'll give up it feels like 2 points here, 2 points here, 2 points here. And it's just all over the place. They give up just these easy they give up these easy shots because Dwight Powell is not a good rim protector. Opponents are shooting 68.3% at the rim, almost 70% at the rim when Dwight Powell is on the floor. That's bad. It was 67% last year when Dwight was on the floor. When Dwight is off the floor, opponents shoot 63% at the rim. So that's an automatic 5 percentage points decrease they're shooting at the rim, which is average. It's not like they go from a bad defensive team to a great defensive team. They go from bad to average at the rim when Dwight gets off the floor. When Willie Cauley-Stein is on the floor, the teams are shooting 83% at the rim. So it's not like just replace him with Willie and all of a sudden it gets better. But when both Dwight and Willie Cauley-Stein are off the floor, teams are shooting 54% at the rim. So it's like both of these guys are struggling right now. And Dwight especially has been struggling because Dwight plays more and plays against starters and all that. That number right there has just been, it's a constant. It's been something that we've seen his entire career with the Mavericks. We know this. We've said it so many times. He's not a starter in the NBA. He's not a starting center. The Mavericks all of a sudden always have a negative on when they start Dwight Powell because you're just losing in so many other categories. Sure, he'll give you the rim rolling every once in a while, and that'll be a positive. But all the other areas you're getting beat in, and they just can't sustain that against obviously teams like Denver. Jokic just destroyed him on that end. You play any teams with pretty good centers, and all of a sudden it hurts you really bad. And I hope this Maxey injury isn't too bad because he's been their best big man by far.
Yeah, I joked on yesterday's pod. I was like, is it bad of me that I'd be more worried about losing Maxey for a long period of time than KP? And
Maxey has been more important so far.
I know. And, I think Bam going into tonight's game at home is questionable in that game. If he does play, that'll be a tough matchup for Dwight. Obviously, we need Bam not to play in this game. But, yeah, Dwight's been struggling to start the season. I don't have any more to add to it. You said it.
He honestly is put in a situation that is not beneficial to him, right? He's put out there and all right, go defend Jokic. Okay, well he's just not going to do well there. He's a shorter center. He's 6'9", 6'10". He's got shorter arms. He's not built to be a defender like that. And so he's all right, we'll just take Jokic one-on-one. And it's not a beneficial thing for Dwight. It's not a beneficial thing for the Mavericks. And it also is kind of hard to say, all right, well, then just put out Moses Brown instead of him. Well, Moses Brown comes in and he fouls real quick, and that's just been struggle. Put out Willie Cauley-Stein. Okay, well, teams are shooting 83% at the rim when Willie Cauley-Stein is out there. He's been struggling as well. So there's not really – the Mavericks have all these centers, and none of them are starting caliber centers. And so you're kind of just faced with all right, well, let's just make the lesser of choices. But Dwight Powell's been a negative so far.
Yeah, he has. Yep. Can I say my fun one?
Yeah, that's why I said save it for the end.
Oh, this is my fun one. Something that I like. They debuted today. I want to give a kind of a halfway shout out, but also the new mixtape City jerseys.
Ooh,
I like them. We seen that. We seen them at media
Dallas
day.
Mavericks mixtape.
They look good. They look good in person. They look good on the players. I think anytime they can bring that green back with the old school stuff, I love it. And I want to specifically give a shout out. And this is kind of I'm going to be kind of a homer here because I work with some of these people in a freelance fashion. But I want to give a shout out to the Mavs digital content team. We can just obviously Bobby's a friend of the pod, been on the pod.
Bobby Carallo.
Mike does incredible work, graphics wise, posters and everything. But I also want to give a shout out to Becca, J-Lim, and Steph, because some of the movie posters that they're putting out right now is incredible. The Halloween
cool.
one with the headless Luka, the Halloween, the jack-o'-lantern is amazing. Steph is one of the best graphic designers I know, and she pulls out some of the craziest designs and animation stuff, and waiting on Luka to put up a triple-double so we can get a Steph graphic on that. J-Lim, what Becca does with social, but what J-Lim does with sounds of the baseline stuff. They just have an amazing team, and so far everything, like, they're putting out some really cool stuff. So I lump that together with the city mixtape jerseys and stuff too. A lot of the aesthetics with the Mavs right now I'm a big fan of.
They're revealing those jerseys on Saturday before the Celtics game at 5 p.m. Central Time in that plaza outside of American Airlines Center. So if you want to go check them out and go see and go be with a bunch of Mavs fans, we may be there.
Possibly. Nick might be there. I think I'm gonna be out there.
Isaac's not gonna be there.
I have to fly home this weekend, so I won't be there. But
there you go, guys. That's the things we like and don't like. We'll be back after the Heat game. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!